Hello, all Hoosier fans, Hoosier haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast, and on today's episode, we're previewing tomorrow's game between the 3-0 Indiana Hoosiers and the 1-2 UNC-Charlotte 49ers. And with me is a new guest, surprisingly not from the Marching Hundred this time. It's a good friend of mine that worked really well with whenever I was working at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from the Charlotte video department, Mr.
Oh,
Tyson Gifford.
thanks for having me on.
So just for some premise, you're big video guy, picture guy, all that fun
Yeah,
jazz. What has been like your best, like probably most favorite event that you've done?
favorite event. Honestly, I've got to say one of my favorite events has to be this year, the Brickyard 400 going back to
Hmm.
school for NASCAR. Um, but I would say really my favorite. Um, but I would say Friday, that Friday at there. I love the short oval of IRP. I love the oval so much. But I would say that whole weekend as a whole.
Uh, Tyson, you're cutting in and out a little bit
Oh no.
on your earbuds. Like I heard, like so. I tried to talk again. You were talking about the IRP that Friday.
Yeah. So uh that was really cute. I love the small oval with definitely that whole weekend as a whole was really, really fun. I loved it.
Mhm. So right now, Indiana is about a 28 and a half point favorite. Uh, and the over-under is about 48 and a half. But Kurt Cignetti has been saying like to not take this team lightly at all. Um, just been saying like this is going to be Charlotte's Super Bowl. This is probably the best opponent they're facing all year, and it's just going to be very interesting to see. Just for some hundred stuff, Marching Hundred show this week is going to be first round picks, which about 10 minutes ago, the Marching Hundred released on Twitter and probably on Instagram too, the reasoning. And it's going to be honoring the Indiana Fever's first round picks this past couple years. So Grace Kelly by Mika is for Grace Berger, former IU grad, going into the Fever. Are You That Somebody by Aaliyah is for Aaliyah Boston, number one overall pick last season. And then 22 by Taylor Swift is for obviously Caitlin Clark for multiple reasons. And whenever I read that, I just laughed out loud because that was probably the best reasoning I could probably think. That it's great to see that the hundreds actually going out and doing more popular songs because once like my junior and senior year they started to do it, but even my sophomore year we did a Hamilton show, so I can't really say that they haven't been doing pop culture stuff, but it's good that they're actually going full into it with all that stuff. But yeah, tell us a little more about UNC Charlotte itself.
Yeah. So Charlotte is a football really only for 11 years and started as an FCS school. And then we made the transition up to the FBS level a few years ago. Made a bowl in 2019 with Chris Reynolds as our quarterback. We were in the conference and we just made the jump to the American Athletic. It's going to be our second full season in the American. 3-9 last year wasn't exactly the best season. Hopefully, we're going to turn it around. We just got to win against Gardner Webb, comeback win, second largest comeback in school history. They're looking to turn things around with this program. The current state of college football. It's really you see a lot of FCS programs coming into the FBS, and listen, Kennesaw State's going to look really well. Sam Houston State did really good last year as well. But Charlotte was built from the ground up, and it's really and now today's day and age with recruiting with NIL, there are a lot of and as an 11th year program, really expect success out the gate. But if you're in North Carolina, where there's been so many 4 and 5 recruits that have gone straight to the NFL, but Drake May was a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He came from Charlotte recruited him. He's just not going to go the equity that many of these other big name schools have. So you got Carolina, Clemson. It's really tough as a program, but Charlotte's had some really good players come through our program, and Larry Odunobi, they are two most notable. Grant DeBow, he's on the Miami. He's on the 53 man roster. He's their current wide receiver five right now. He's looking to get some targets. So, really young program. The direction that our program that I'm looking forward to, so long as we're able to build a culture, build a good football team surrounding a head coach, our athletic department, and our a lot of people got really under a lot of people underestimate how big the creative staff and the marching band is toward the school's culture. And those are two push forward is having a creative, having an identity with our marching band as well.
Yeah. Honestly, Indiana's kind of in a similar spot in terms of like being a stepping stone school in a sense
Mm-hmm.
because we've been the doormat of the Big Ten, like us, Purdue to the same extent, Rutgers, like just at that bottom area where it's like, hey, you might do good, but like our best recruit historically, um, God, why can't I remember his name? He was a is like a, I think it was like Bloomsburg's guy. I can't remember his name right now. I should feel bad because he was like a like 2022 guy, and then after 1 year transferred to Oklahoma. But it's like with Signetti, I'm really excited for what he's going to do this year. He's already gotten this team 3-0. A lot of hype, a lot of hopium. Not ready for the hopium. I feel like I'm a Harrison Burton fan right now. I was like, why are we doing this good?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, Harrison Burton. But yeah, just to go into some team stats right now for Indiana, offensive, like they've been at these 3 weeks. Granted, the opponents have been absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Get that straight. But offensively, Indiana is 50 points per game, which is second in the Big Ten. 550 total, 15 total yards per game, which is definitely gassed up from the 700 we had against Western Illinois.
Yeah,
Uh, both are second in the conference. Passing 288.3 is sixth. Rushing 266.7 is fourth. Indiana leads the Big Ten in touchdowns in both categories and in total. They have, I think, 20 total touchdowns, eight passing, 12 rushing. They're first in the Big Ten in third down percentage, 64.5, and third down attempts, they're seventh with only 31 attempts. And the offense has shown like just different things if you haven't watched. Against Florida International, we ran the ball down their throats. Four running backs with I think, over 70 yards.
yeah,
And one of the big four that we have, just didn't play much. Uh, Western Illinois is a mixed destruction,
yeah,
like just nearly 350 yards on both sides of the ball there. And then UCLA, it was a passing attack that just absolutely killed him.
yeah.
Rourke had like Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week last week, and just was absolutely surgical against UCLA. Defensively, IU's allowed 7.7 points per game, which is fourth. 180 total yards, which is second. 126 passing yards, which is third, and then 53 rushing yards, which is second. They allow about a quarter of the third downs that they are put into. So about 25% third down percentage and 35 third down attempts, which is third and 11th respectively. And defensively, I think they lead the league in sacks, lead the conference in sacks. Uh, have a monster front six that is responsible for all the turnovers. Well, front seven, if you count Amari Farrell as like the
Yeah.
rover as a linebacker or not.
I've been really liking your rover defense with Amari there. I would say it's been a front seven because it's kind of acting as a Mike kind of rover, maybe a little bit of a I would say a little bit of a cube. That's kind of go against the defense.
Yeah. I liked Lamar Farrell. I really liked Aiden Fisher. Dude's been absolutely nuts. He leads the team in tackles. We'll go into that later. Mikael Kamara's leading the whole conference in sacks and is tied for the conference lead in pressures. And then I don't know if you have the Charlotte stats, but I can just say 'em right now.
Go for it.
Offensively, 18 points per game, which is 12th in the AAC. And your opponents were, I know you played North Carolina, played
Mm-hmm.
Gardner Webb, and I think you played James Madison too. So a decent level of competition. Uh, North Carolina, obviously power four. Uh, Gardner Webb, good comeback win, and then James Madison is first week of the season. What you gonna do? Uh, but 18 points per game, which is 12th in the American, 343.7 total yards, which is 10th. 279 passing yards, which is third, which is I'm actually good. Is what I like is the really good passing attack. But 64 rushing yards was last. I think if they're able to get a balanced attack, which it might honestly be that you guys are put in situations where you need to pass more often than not, which is why it's skewed like that. But 25% third down percentage, which is 13th, and 44 third down attempts, which is 11th. Defensively, allowed 31.3 points, which is 10th, 431.3 yards, 12th, 260 passing yards, and 171 rushing yards, which is 11th each. Just under 40% third down percentage, 12th, and then 36 third down attempts allowed, which is 11th. And defense, obviously not fantastic, but some of that is skewed because of the North Carolina game, and it will be skewed more because
Yeah.
of Indiana. Once you guys get a conference season, I think is going to be much more telling. With any team, it's just the out of conference. Like UCLA is having LSU, then Oregon, then USC.
Yeah.
Aid.
And I would say for for me, I focus mainly on the defensive side of the ball. And our defense has been honestly in situations that they've been put in. Against James Madison, again, we were giving up the ball really quickly on offense, which gave the ball right back to put our defense right back on the field. I think there was three straight drives where it was three and out, turnover, three and out, where it's just back to back to back. And our defense was on the field basically the entirety of the but we let up a lot of points and it gassed up our defense. They gassed out our defense. But they were holding James Madison to, honestly, really. They played a long game against Gardner Webb the next week with their point per game statistics. But in terms of our defense, they really held their own. It's the same sort of thing. Let us. We opened the game with third down, really huge play next. I mean, I think we have 5 or 6 interceptions as a team this season. I think we're averaging 2 picks per game, and that's including like it's not like we won a couple during Gardner Webb, but we had one during James Madison, and then at least 2 during Carolina. So it's not like our defense has been terrible. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
we've been put in situations where we can't stop certain aspects. I'm playing against the powerhouse, and they didn't really lose. Um, they still have a really good program, and then Carolina, I think it was 20-6 at halftime. Any other school, what people will think Charlotte level would be like that would be 40-0 or something like that. The defense would be it was the story of our last season too, to where our defense is really good, offense just couldn't put up the points.
Mhm. And honestly, that's how I felt about Indiana 2021-22 season. After the COVID season happened, Cade Womack went to South Alabama, who's now the defensive coordinator at Alabama now, which that's funny. But it felt like the defense was just getting hung out to dry by that offense, which had another Penix injury, which is the story of the Penix era at IU was just injuries. But I really think that Rourke has not thrown an interception all year in the three games he's been in. He hasn't, so that's going to be very interesting. A really good pass defense against a really smart and conservative quarterback. Because Rourke is more of a game manager than anything, but has a slight bit of like he's not like a pure pocket passer in the sense of he's breaking like out of 5 or 6 sacks that I've seen this season. He's been able to
Yeah.
slip just, and the offensive line is fantastic, especially that left side of the O line. Carter Smith, Nick Kidwell, Kadich, um, and then my big concern of that O line is Trey Wedding. And just that's because he's the new guy in the group. But when you have a Bob Bostad O line, it's just going to be absolutely nuts. But speaking of Rourke and all those players, let's just go to the player stats real quick. For passing, Curtis Rourke is leading the team in passing, obviously. 55-74, 755 yards, 7 touchdowns, no picks. Um, Taven Jackson has shown in against the Western Illinois game that I think he'll be a really good starter next year if we don't get Julian Lewis. Uh, that'll be hilarious. But I think Rourke's been fantastic these first 3 weeks. There's been a couple
Mm-hmm.
plays was like, yeah, and against UCLA game where it's been like there was like a definite interception, but the UCLA linebacker hit it off, basically popped it out of his own teammate's hands. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, okay. But he's been efficient. He's had some good plays. He's had some very smart decisions. Been really impressed with work. Running. It's been Justice Elson these past couple of weeks that's been taking care of business. 29 carries, 232 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think also Tyson Lawton has 3 touchdowns too.
Yeah.
Those two are like the big ones, but you also got Elijah Green there, who's he's more of a backup, but he'll shut things down for games. You got Kalen Black, but Justice Ellison, I'm really happy about pass blocking too because but all of those running backs are good in pass blocking.
Yep.
Receiving, honestly, the biggest surprise because I thought it'd been Elijah Surratt been leading the team in passing. It's actually Omar Cooper, an IU guy that's been there for 3 years. Lawrence North grad, 11 receptions, 234 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Miles Cross had a really good game last week, but Omar Cooper has been steady, which that's just been my biggest surprise because I thought it'd been Surratt or Donovan McCulley for going by a returning IU player. But the offense has looked fantastic. Rourke has really not been hit much, which I am really happy about. And it just leads to long sustaining drives, which what happened? That's what happened in the UCLA game. That first drive was a long sustaining drive that resulted in a touchdown. Third and 16, third and 6, third and 1, doesn't matter. He's picking it up. But Sarai's had a good couple of games. Miles Rice looks like he's gonna get a punt return touchdown or kickoff return touchdown one of these times. He's gonna break one. And it just has the IU fan in me. Just like imagine if um why can't I remember his name? He transferred to Florida State and all of my IU friends are gonna be mad at me for forgetting his name. But he was like he got a kick return touchdown last year against Purdue, and he had two the year before. Like he was like going to be in Miles Rice's position anyways. Defensively though, for tackling, Aiden Fisher is leading the way. He has 30 tackles, leads the entire conference. 11 solo tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and the pass defended. Uh, should have had interception, but he got taken away because of pass interference. Then he got speared by a wide receiver and it wasn't called as targeting
Yeah.
because The Big Ten hates Indiana. Big Ten refs, am I right? But and then on the pass defense, you got Amari Farrell, 9 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, and then 2 interceptions. I've liked what I've seen from this defense. And speaking of that, defensive tackle CJ West and cornerback D'Angelo Pons last week's game received targeting calls in the second half. So normally that means that they would be suspended the first half of next week of this game. But yesterday, Zach Osterman reported that CJ West's call had been overturned, so he does not have to. He's going to be playing this game, and it was so CJ. If you didn't see it, CJ West's one was Garbers, the UCLA quarterback, didn't couldn't pick up the bad snap. Went down to pick it up. CJ West went to get him. Went to go for the ball. Helmet's hit, but he wraps him up at the ankles. Called for targeting. I think that was stupid. That's just my opinion. Then Pons was a lot more like, yeah, that's targeting. Garbers threw a Peyton Manning, Austin Collie level of a hospital pass down and towards the cornerback, and Pons like tried to avoid the helmet to helmet, but it was shoulder right to the head. It's like that's targeting.
Yeah,
Oh god, that's targeting. I'm sorry, buddy, but yeah, it's like, what you gonna do?
yeah,
But what I've really liked about this team is if this was Tom Allen's group and they had a targeting call, they lose this game. Happened against Cincinnati 2 years ago, and I mentioned in the post game. But that's one thing I like about this Kurt Cignetti group is you're going like this team is a lot more not mentally tough than Tom Allen and than Coach Allen. And I'm happy for what he's doing at Penn State. Hopefully they just crush Kent State just because I
yeah.
like but I have been really really impressed. For Charlotte, you've got Trexler Ivy, who you were really impressed with last week. Led that comeback, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Third quarterback on the year. We had Mac Brown came in from Florida. He should be our starter. Fractured. I think he broke his hand in some way, shape, or form during the Carolina game. And then Deshaun, our backup, came in, did pretty well. And then Deshaun Purdy got hurt as well during the Gardner Webb game. Trexler Ivy came in, led that comeback. And Trexler Ivy has started a few games for us. I believe this will be his sixth start or sixth or seventh start with this season. Did solid last year. I'm looking forward to it. He's got the poise. He's got the lead us for the next 2 weeks before Mac Brown is even ready. After the ECU game, we had a bye week on after the rest, so after that next game will be our next game. We'll probably see Mac Brown in play and think of conference play. I really would like Mac Brown back for ECU, which is our game, but I think Trexler will be okay.
I think I saw that ECU's top cornerback towards ACL.
I did see that. I don't think it's going to really affect anything because they have their top corner. I mean, they did pair way better without him there, just because there's no more island. The rest of their corners, the rest of their safeties, and we don't really have a number one receiver to go up against an island. So,
Hmm.
it would have been helpful to know who to avoid. Now they have so many good corners that we don't know who to avoid or who not to throw to.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
fair.
for someone like Trexler, I think he'll be able to read somebody like Max to come in to read that defense. I think we're gonna. I don't. Again, this is not a Charlotte show. I'm not looking forward to having to throw the ball against ECU, especially the last two seasons or the last season where we played ECU. It was a run heavy. Complete opposite this year. It's going to be a very pass heavy game. And I think it's going to be the same this week versus Indiana. Definitely going to be a very pass heavy game. Whoever's able to run them. Exactly. That's a good thing for you. I think you guys are going to be able to get it over a secondary and also run it through a front.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I was looking at your guys' stats, you got four players with over 100 yards on receiving yards, and three players with over 10 catches. And Jarius Mack has six receptions for 157 yards. Like you guys spread the ball a lot, and running. You got Hashawn Wilson, 19 carries, 116 yards and a touchdown. Which, if the running attack is able to be feasible, I think guys will have a good season. Granted, this IU run defense is going to be nasty. It just is. Uh, but
We haven't been
yeah. Tackling got Reed Williford, 10 solo tackles, 19 total, four tackles for loss and a sack. And pass defensive wise, you got Al Mahi Ali. Is that how you
Yep.
pronounce that? All right.
We
11
just call him Ali Ali.
Ali. 11 solo tackles, 16 total, two pass defended, and a pick. And and I will just say this because of how Indiana has done things. You're gonna get a score before the your last drive before this but the last drive of the first half is gonna be a score. I am just saying that now. Indiana has let up either a touchdown or field goal in the last drive of the first half every
I'll,
time.
I'll put money on it.
It's like it's the only thing that is the only negative that I have found with this team so far this season, and it just drives me insane. Because like I don't know, like the defense gets a little soft, um, like coverages get a little like they get a little too prevent, they get a little too conservative with their play calling and don't stick to what's happening.
Yep.
But I have Indiana winning 42-3. I think like and like this could be this could be like Charlotte scores more than three because their passing attack is pretty good, but I don't know. It's just this could be a lot closer than what I'm thinking. Could very well be because you
Yeah.
guys got a really good secondary. You've got a good passing attack. It's just coming to Bloomington, uh, the nice fall weather, beautiful trees, um, hopefully a sold out crowd. Please stay up past halftime. For the love of all that is holy, please, I beg you. That's been also a frustrating thing with Indiana fans. Even when I was in the 100 last year, we were playing Michigan, 10-10 ball game at halftime. 90% of the students left. And we're like, why?
Yeah.
It's like and in reality, IU has a fantastic like, I don't say fantastic, a very notorious party culture and tailgate culture.
Yeah.
And students get absolutely hammered at the tailgate, need to go take a nap before hitting up the bars like Kilroy's upstairs, Nick's, etc. Um, that's just it is what it is. Um, but what? How do you think this game goes?
Honestly, I think it'll be tight. First quarter, it's going to be tight. I think you guys are going to try to pass. That's where he's trying to a hand injury. This is just my personal opinion. You are looking at Charlotte. Dante Balfour is your guy that you got to look out for. He's playing through a fractured wrist. He's got he's the Charlotte's secondary. He doesn't. I don't. He has. And I really don't think I've seen people throw it to him more often than he's really, really last year. I think he'll be a fourth or fifth round guy. He's definitely that an NFL team is looking for. And you guys are going to run the ball really well. Passing, I don't think it's going to work out in the first quarter, maybe the first half. It's going to be really a slow start for both teams. I'm pretty sure. And I'm definitely going to see. I'll take cover the spread. We'll look. We'll look probably like a 38. maybe a 38-7 type of game is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Maybe a field goal, maybe a touchdown, missed extra point, and a field goal. Have some weird scores for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah, this is probably a very similar opponent to FIU. Week one. Uh, Group of five school, looking new coach, looking
Yeah.
to get things going. Just gonna see how that goes. But that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Share on all your platforms, and ask yourself, what happens if Harrison Burton wins today?
I